So I told him, hey, it's my nervous system, so it's always doing everything on impulse. So, my friend went hiking the other day. He decided to post a picture of his poison ivy he got on the trail. Yeah. So I commented on it, and I said, hey, did you pick up some medication for it, or was it just a rash decision? But, applause. Who here has that one friend who can't save money? Well, my one friend spent $5,000 on a mattress. Yeah. So I said, why don't you sleep on it and get back to me? I have manic depression. One time, I stayed up for 24 hours. And I read the shampoo bottle for 3 hours. You know, because it said lather, rinse, repeat. So I just kept repeating this. Another time, I decided I wasn't going to wait for a haircut. So I cut my own hair. Yeah, realizing what I had done, I had to fix it. So I went to the hairdresser and I said, hey, can you make me come out looking like Cindy Crawford? But instead, she made me come out looking like Danny DeVito. One time, I chugged a whole bottle of shampoo. I thought I was dying. So I called 911. Yeah, they said I was fine. But yeah, that's right, I didn't die. But my breath did smell like Classic Clean Head and Shoulders for the next 3 months. One time, I was on Seroquel for depression. I gained 30 pounds. Because all I was eating was butter. I ate so much butter that they thought I was a refugee from the Paula Deen Show. Also, during that time, I took a quart of Neapolitan ice cream into my room. Yeah. I ate half of it, you know, fell asleep, forgot about it, left in the darnest place, the closet. Yeah, it was so gross, even the ants said, we're not eating this crap. You know, I think about high school a lot. Good times, good times. Back then, I loved the movie Twilight. Yeah, I'm not getting a whole crowd in this room with the Twilight movie. But in the movie, there were 2 teams. Team Edward and Team Jacob. Team Edward was vampires, right? And Team Jacob was werewolves. But now that the teams are all grown up, they're even scarier. Because now, they're Team Republican and Team Democrat. I mean, come on. Vampires may suck your blood, and werewolves may bite your head off, but at least they don't pass legislation to raise your taxes. One time I dated this guy in high school. He said I was crazy. So that day, you know, I went home and I said, ask the one person for some most helpful advice. I said, hey, Grandma, am I crazy? That's my impression of her. No, Mika, don't worry, you're fine. Because they're actually more loony than toony. Thank you.
Give it up for Jordan Huerta. And let's keep it rocking along. Next on, Sarah Beckman.
Thanks, David. So I'm newly single, and one of the things I've started to kind of play around with is online dating apps. And this can be kind of difficult for folks like me that struggle with mental health issues. So In my case, I have an anxiety disorder, and it can be kind of hard to explain on first dates. I usually just kind of come off overeager when I'm really just feeling anxious. So, like, it's probably not a great idea to lead with the fact that I have already had our kids' names picked out before we order appetizers. I found that's usually a better conversation to have over dessert. And it really seems to kill the mood when I show up in a wedding dress. So one of the biggest struggles I found of dating in 2019 is the idea of letting something slip out that you found out from internet stalking them ahead of time. So I always look up my potential dates on like Instagram, so I'll know things like where they went to school or different trips that they've been on, and this is normally fine, except I think I did take it a little too far with one guy when I looked up his flight information to make sure he got there okay. And guys, I swear it was a total coincidence we were in adjoining hotel rooms. Now, the more time that I spend on these apps, I start to think that maybe there are some guys out there that are struggling with similar issues like me, but may not be as open about it. So luckily, the last guy I went out with, we saw the same therapist, so she was able to fill me in. I didn't get to talk for 10 sessions, but I'm all caught up. But I really have been on some bad dates off these apps. And it doesn't really help that I have a problem like kind of not showing my anxiety and boredom sometimes. So I went out with one gentleman who spent the first half of the date talking about fishing. Now, apologies to fishers, but I have no interest in this subject. And so I guess my eyes were rolling a little too much because the guy at the table next to us leaned over and goes, "Dude, move on, the lady is not interested." One of the guys I went out with just went on and on and on about himself and never asked anything about me. So by the end of it, I felt like I was his therapist. All I needed was a salt lamp, an office, and the ability to bill Medicaid. Actually, it would have been nice to get a little money for my next date. But some guys really don't let me pay for anything, which can be kind of annoying, but I'm also trying to see if I can use it to my advantage. So like, how many dates do I have to go on with this guy before he'll offer to pay for my Zoloft prescription? One of the worst dates I went on was a guy that took me home to meet his parents on the first date. I know. And he didn't tell me that he lived with his parents. And so I'm sitting there internally freaking out, having a near anxiety attack, thinking, my anxiety meds give me migraines, night sweats, and dry mouth, but it's way better than sitting here right now with y'all. That date made me realize I had to do two things. Double my therapy appointments and delete my Tinder forever. And one of the things I've noticed myself doing a lot lately is getting kind of panicked when guys aren't prompt after going out with them initially. So if they don't text me back, I'll just text them again and say things like, "Are you mad at me? Did you not have a good time? Does this mean I should return the wedding dress?" And I swear, guys, I'm really not that picky. I'm just looking for someone who's nice, funny, stable job, nothing crazy. But after a little time in the Austin dating scene, I'm gonna have to settle for a guy with all his teeth and a pulse. So one of the things that people sometimes suggest when you're newly single is to go to things like speed dating to meet people, right? So I did the speed dating once in my life. And I should preface this with it was at my very religious, very conservative college in the middle of Amish country, Pennsylvania, just to set the scene. So each of the guys that came through got more and more personal with all of their questions for me. Like the first guy rolled in and said, when do you want to get married? Next guy rolls in and goes, how many kids do you want to have? And by the third guy, he's already down on one knee with a ring with a pastor standing by. So since I've spent a lot of time in therapy, I've kind of started to consider, what would it be like to actually marry a therapist? I've just kind of imagined what our house would look like. And so you walk in and the receptionist is right in the foyer. I have to always have, my ID card and my insurance card ready to show. And I imagine it would get a little annoying not being able to hear each other because all the white noise machines and everything. So the more time that I spend on these dating apps, the more I think about what if there was specifically a dating app for folks that struggled with mental health issues? Because there's a dating app for everything now. And so I imagine it kind of like you'd be able to swipe right on folks that took the same prescription as you. That way you'd know you were compatible. And it would be very beneficial for me because obviously I'm only swiping right on people that take the name brand drugs. For me, it's either Xanax or sorry, next. And I do think we've come a long way since in the world of destigmatizing mental health. And I would love to fast forward like 20 years from now and see these things kind of mainstreamed in dating lives on shows like The Bachelorette. So I just imagine someone coming up to do their like initial interview or like intro, and they're just like, "Hi, I'm Kayla, I'm 27, and I'm a hairdresser from Tampa. I have 2 dogs, love the beach, and I have crippling social anxiety. Also, I have a deep fear of